Okay, so I've finished going through the entire timeline here and pulling out all of the entities of just sort of the very broad swaths of events leading up to the uh, Bitfinex hack. And what you end up with is this just this nice little link chart that sort of tells us, how these things are connected. And then, like I mentioned, the next step will be to dig into Heather and Dutch's lives and see if any of it overlaps. You've got everything from the key players in Bitfinex to Bitco, which was where the actual hack took place. Um, and then this is the actual address. It was 2,000 separate transactions out of Bitco, and it all congregated into this address. So that's sort of the egress point. Even some small details, like this particular Twitter account has been very aggressive about, accusing Bitfinex of orchestrating this massive fraud, which is sort of the larger discussion around the hack itself, which is why this is so interesting, because it does seem like there was so much corruption surrounding all of these companies. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, we'll find out more soon, obviously, that Dutch had a relationship of some kind with BitGo. So curious to see what we find there. One interesting thing that I found was, so in the Yahoo article, it does mention that how we know Tether is owned by the same people, the same two people as Bitfinex, is because it was exposed in the Panama Papers, and apparently that was where that exposure came out. These two are named, Phil and Devasini, are named directly in the Panama Papers with Tether. But one thing that the article doesn't note is when you go to the Panama Papers, this address in Ontario is exposed as the office address for Tether. And that address, when you basically just Google it, you end up with a lawyer's name, and the attorney in Ontario associated with this address is a cryptocurrency attorney. So just one more interesting little tidbit that I'm curious to see if that attorney's name pops up again. This isn't sort of a traditional fraud, but whenever you're doing any fraud investigation, you start seeing attorneys. They sort of become key pivot points to finding other information. So the idea is that this is all built. Another thing is, once it's all complete, you do end up with, you can just double click on it, you sort of end up with these nice little entity baseball cards. It's sort of just got your quick summary of the properties over on this side in the picture attachment, and then any notes that you've got. So you could really, beef these notes up and have great descriptions, and have it so that it exports into very, very nice baseball cards for a report. So, but that's it. So this is what you end up with at the end of this article. And the great thing is we've got this perfect starting point if we want to run down the cryptocurrency rabbit hole, or the sort of larger ecosystem as we do start to unravel Dutch and Heather's lives.